Afternoon, everybody, and welcome to ICB TV. It's Wednesday, the 3rd of June. It's looking a bit dull outside. I gather the thunder and rain is going to hit us at the weekend, which is not a good thing for us because it's my better three-quarters birthday at the weekend, but we'll try and get over that one. I'm very lucky today to have not one, two, three, or four guests. I've actually got five. And as you've all booked on for this because we're talking about social media, you already know what it's all about. So we picked the cream of our crop, as it were. So we have Stephanie Busby from Busby Books. Hi, Stephanie.
Hello.
We have Christine Applin. Chrissy. Hi. And Chrissy is one of our former Lucas Student of the Year winners, known as Kaplan. Her bookkeeping company is Kaplan. Stephanie, of course, is Busby Books. Helen Bauer. Hi, Helen. And we've just been having a bit of a Luca contest in here because some people have won a couple and others haven't. But I have to point out that Helen was highly commended, and I did point out that many actors go through their entire acting career has been nominated for Oscars. So it doesn't belittle what she's been doing. There can only be one winner in these categories. Nicola Payne, from the Bookkeeping Hub, our South Wales Supremo. You've all met her before on here anyway. She has won Branch of the Year twice, so jolly good. Keeping the Welsh fires going. And last but by no means least, we have Zoe Whitman from But the Books. And
Hi.
she's the one that started all the trouble because there over her shoulder there, you will see she's got two Lucas, one's for her practice. But the main one, the reason that she's here today really is because she got our social media influencer last year because she does a lot on social media. In fact, the five people who are guests today are all pretty well social media connected completely. And I know when I go on there, I can guarantee that at least one of them will have something to say about something brilliant. So I'm going to start off by being not difficult exactly, but I'm going to ask a difficult question is why is social media worth bothering with? So let's start with Zoe, because a lot of people say, look, I don't have time. I'm a busy bookkeeper. Am I going to get anything from it?
Yeah, it's a good question. You could easily waste your life on social media. It's about being focused. So if you can work out who your ideal client is and work out which platform they're on, because most of us are on something a lot of the time, you can target them through your marketing. So if they are hanging out in Facebook groups and you know they're there, spending time in Facebook groups is a good use of your time. If they're on Instagram, be on Instagram. So I think it is a good use of your time, but don't try and do everything. Be really focused.
So which platforms do you favour?
I'm Instagram. My target client at But the Books was creative sector. So whether they were using Instagram for their business or whether they would just they were going to be looking on there. If they were interested in visual stuff, that's where they would be hanging out for sure. So that's why I chose that. And also I thought it was quite an easy place to stand out. It's not a traditional platform for finance professionals. So just working out what was the most engaging content to get on there helped me get in front of those clients and start to stand out quite easily.
So it's not a scattergun effect. It's basically aim and shoot. Great. All
Definitely.
right.
Yeah.
Nicola, you do quite a lot. I see you there quite regularly convey things. What's your social media of choice?
I use a couple, so mainly Twitter and Facebook. Trying to post various articles, things like that, and it's just trying to come across that you're a professional, you know what you're talking about, and that people can then ask you questions if need be. It is quite difficult, but sometimes just keep posting about various things. It just raises your profile a bit and gets your brand name known locally, and certainly joining local Facebook business groups, that sort of thing is really useful as well.
Right, okay. So, Chrissy, you are quite regular on social media. Do you expect people to come across you, or do you do something to say, hi, by the way, make sure you look for me on social media?
For me, it's very much about engaging on there. I've seen people go on and just post about themselves and that's all they do. But for me, it's very much about engaging with other people. If you comment and like and share other people's posts, then you'll quite often find that they'll do the same for you, which then helps your reach. I do quite a lot on LinkedIn, and especially on there, you can really get quite good, so a lot of people viewing your post just by other people liking it or commenting on it. So for me, it's very much about not just focusing on you, it's about interacting with others and engaging with others. And actually by doing that, you're raising your own profile at the same time. That's how I work.
What else do you use besides LinkedIn?
Twitter. Those are my two. I'm on Facebook, but I don't do a lot on Facebook. For me, I try and focus on Twitter and LinkedIn.
All right, okay. Now, Helen, you are out of bookkeeping, and I still remember the day that one of our members of staff opened an envelope in the office, and out of it sprung a snake. Not a real one, I have to point out, but a very twisty, windy, wooden snake. And to this day, the girl is still having therapy. But apart from that, it got you known as out of bookkeeping. So what are you doing to put yourself out there?
Right, so I use Twitter and LinkedIn, but Twitter is my favourite. So tiny bit of background, I was small sole trader working from home for about 10 years, not wanting to grow massively because I was managing it around the kids. So I took a step 3 years ago to taking on staff and premises, and I knew I really needed to up my game. So to me, it's all about branding. I agree with Chrissy, it's about engaging, but to me, I've created a brand locally in Worcestershire. A lot of people have heard of the Ada Bookkeeping snake. So a lot of the things that we put out there are to do with snakes. So we have lots of pictures about snakes. We do expos with woolen snakes, wooden snakes, cakes made of snakes, snakes made of cakes, all sorts of things. So we use that as a whole branding exercise. And to me, if you appear on all the local platforms all the time and you engage, it's a drip, drip, drip. So within 3 years, I'd say from not being known at all, well, not at all, but barely, I now go around networking a lot and I get people going, oh gosh, yeah, I've seen you, you're the snake woman. So I believe I've built up a brand, and I think social media has helped me to build up that brand and get me known locally and get me noticed.
Right. And you like being known as the snake lady. We might talk about that later, but anyway, never mind. And Stephanie, what are you doing to get your social media hit?
Well, I started out on Facebook initially, only because I was more au fait with that. I wasn't really up with Twitter. I've only really started Twitter in the last couple of years, but I tend to use that so that, like Chrissy was saying, looking at what other people post and getting information from that, whereas Facebook tends to be more the thing that I use to reach my clients, because a lot of my clients, I'm at a point now in my practice where I'm happy with the amount of clients I've got, so I'm more just disseminating information out to them, and I use Facebook to do that.
Okay. Before we go any further, can I just ask for a show of hands, how many of you are actually happy with the size of your practice as it is at the moment?
Bigger.
No, because my next question was, how many of you, so that was sort of 3 and a bit, how many of you actually are targeting growth over the next 12 to 18 months to 2 years? Oh, that's interesting. Okay, that's good. What was that you said, sorry?
My retirement plan.
Your retirement plan. Oh, that's a lot. That's giving you too much of a length to achieve that goal, I know, but never mind. Okay. Now, that's interesting because when we're working out who we would like to come and do presentations for us at conferences or at Inspire Tours or anything else, we always have to be careful that we don't have too many people in there who are talking about expanding their business, because we tend to find that only about 15 to 20% of our members actually want to expand. And of those, say 25% want to absolutely hit the stars. But a lot of people are more concerned about doing a really good job for the business they've got and making sure it all works well. So I think that also affects the sort of messages that are picked up quickly on on social media, because I've noticed a couple of people who are well-known faces. You will know them. I don't need to mention them by name. Who are constantly battering us with you need to charge more. You need to tell your clients to go away. You need to do all this sort of stuff. It might be a good message put the right way, but I've noticed that their star is waning a little bit at the moment. I'm not sure whether that's because of COVID. I mean, do you think COVID has actually changed what message is now acceptable on social media? Any of you? Zoe, come on, you're on social media a lot. I mean, do you find that you've got to be a bit more careful with your message now, because people are actually worrying more about survival than hitting the everything's wonderful in the house, or what?
Yeah, I mean, the way Gary, you know this, I've taken the decision to close my business to the point that I'm not taking on new clients now. So my situation is I've got 2 small children at home and operationally can't run my business. If I didn't have kids, I could have done my staff and done the work myself, but that isn't the case. So what I've decided to do is lose some of my clients and just hold on to the work I've got capacity to do right now. So I'm not targeting growth, but I do still want to stay connected with those people, because they are potentially clients in the future and they need my help. So the people that are following me on Instagram, whether I've worked with them and charged them money before or not, they're still part of my audience and I care about them. So as the information become available, I've actually used Instagram stories, which is a really nice way to make a personal connection, because you can be a bit more ad hoc with it. You can just go live whenever you want and you can just say, by the way, there's a link here. If you need some support, you can do this. So that's been a really nice way to stay in touch with people. So it's really thinking about, I think social media is about finding a pain point that your client has and addressing that. They don't care about you broadcasting stuff. They want to know the stuff that helps them with their problems. So if I've seen something and I think that's going to help someone in this situation, I've just shared it, put a link up, or just I've said something for a minute or 2 on Instagram stories. That's how I've used it.
I've found that as well with where the government have brought out their updates. A lot of my clients will come to me and say, what does that mean? You know, can you translate that into English? So I ended up putting little posts on through my Facebook page, and a lot of my clients are actually my friends on Facebook as well. So it then goes out to them as a better summary for them. And I've had a lot of feedback to say, thank you for explaining that. Now we get it. We feel a bit happier now.
Helen, you are going one step further. You've now got quite a snazzy little video that you're about to put out, or you have already put out. I know we've been looking at it, and it's an animated video, so it's you know it's not you looking 20 years younger than you are or anything like that you've got to worry about. But you're going to try now and use your social media to bring people out of this and hopefully catch them on their way back up on the crest of a wave. Yeah,
so one of the things that I like to do is, obviously I like to promote my own company, but I like to promote the profession. So I like to engage people why they should have a bookkeeper in general, even if it's not specifically me, although I obviously hope it's going to be me. I wasn't going to mention the video, Gary, because you said I'd be deleted if I tried to say anything. But yes.
No, I'm trying to get you to mention it, because I have said that if you do mention it, I'm going to charge you money. So anyway, too late. No. I'm really keen that we promote our members however we can. But the problem is that obviously, as I said, I tread a bit of a difficult line. You might not realise this, but I'm very shy and retiring, and I don't say things out of turn or anything else. So I'm just very careful that if I promote one member, the other members all jump up and down. But no, I mean, if you're doing something which is different, I mean, people can look out for it. They might want to say, I mean, Nicola has a very clever daughter that did some videos of the branch, and the video of the branch it really looked good, and I mean, it enhanced the style of the branch. It enhanced the way they work, and I gather she's on furlough at the moment. Nicola, is she still that way?
Yes, currently, yes.
It happens to some good people, but anyway, but yeah, I mean, she was straight out of college, and you just happened to be able to presumably get mates rates.
Oh no, she did the branch one for a freebie.
Did she? Oh,
yes.
Oh right, okay.
But she's done she now works for me, so she does do in-house ones now going forwards, yes.
And are you going to use that more to do? Obviously, that was to promote the branch, which was really good. But are you going to use this to promote the practice as a whole, or elements of what you do, or how are you going to use that?
Yeah, that is the idea. Obviously, having an in-house videographer is great. So yeah, that is the idea, is to use that in the future and going forwards. And it's basically been a matter of time up till now. We've actually been able to get it done. So we've got some ideas in the pipeline. We've done a couple of little ones already, but yeah, the idea is to have more video content, because that's something about the website. If you have video content on your website, your Google rankings are higher. Just because you've got a video on your front page actually makes it higher. So something with the Google rankings is really key for social media as well, and how that affects your website rankings. So just having a little video on the front page, it boosts your rankings. So if you want people to find you on Google, there's quite a lot of tips that you can use to add stuff to your website to really boost your rankings.
I mean, Chrissy, you've come at this from all sorts of different places. You know, obviously you won the Luca for student, but you've done some tutoring, you're working with, I mean, how do you find that people are taking your approach on social media? Do you get much comment, or do you just throw it out there and hope that people see it?
It depends. It's strange, because some things that I think I will get a lot of interaction on, I perhaps don't. And then other things, when I just put them out there and I don't expect much, I do get quite a lot. So it really does depend. And I think there's certain things around, and I'm no expert on this, around the time you post on these platforms as well, especially things like Facebook and LinkedIn. The time you post can be key. If you're posting on Facebook and you're perhaps posting at 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, you may get less interaction than if you're posting at, I don't know, say 6, 7 o'clock in the evening when more people are on Facebook. So it's things like that, that just trying to get used to actually what's the best time, and trying to post at different times and seeing what interaction you get. And things like using pictures, that's why I find quite often if you put a picture on, you'll get more interaction, I guess, because it's more eye-catching in a feed compared to if you've just got writing. So it's very much a try it and see what works, I've found.
Do you find, any of you, a bit like newspapers, that good news doesn't really pull the readers in, but if you've got a bit of bad news or a frightening headline, it does? Or do you find that is not the case in your social media? Helen?
I'm just going to, I actually had a social media coach 3 years ago for 6 months. So she said this, you need to inspire some kind of emotion in somebody for them to engage with your post. And what some of the most common emotions are curiosity. So you ask a question and they think, I want to know what the answer to that is. Excitement, something, oh, that looks really fun and exciting. And actually it might be negative, but fear. So you put a question that plays to the fears that some people might have. So it needs to be something really short and snappy, which engages with an emotion and makes them want to look further. Just to throw that in.
Well, yeah, it is a difficult one, isn't it? I mean, Zoe, what's your approach? Because you also tell people how to do this, let alone just do it.
Well, I think a mixture of things. I really think getting inside the head of your client is important, because you tell them things they're interested in. What Chrissy said about photos is really important. I do think having an eye-catching photo, particularly on a platform where people aren't looking for images. So Twitter, if you have an image or a GIF, that's going to stand out amongst a load of text. I also think the other Instagram, if you've got a business account on Instagram, you can see what time, so it's free to have a business account. You can look in your insights and you can see which times of day and which days had most engagement. So if you can look at the graph and see that, you can then look at what you posted. And if that, you'll be like, well, that was a good post, I'll do more stuff like that. People are liking that. And you can also use hashtags. So I find that if I post on LinkedIn and use, like, there's a hashtag small business on LinkedIn, that often I can trend in that. So once a few people comment and like it, or 1 or 2 people share it, then other people start to see it. So I posted something yesterday and it's had like 1,000 views on it, just because about 3 or 4 people commented on it. The way to get that is to build your LinkedIn connections. So once you've got 500 connections, you've got like a super LinkedIn account, and then you've just got more people naturally in your network.
I mean, the thing is, I only realized recently that on LinkedIn you can hit your face, and basically you then get all of your posts, but the little, like a graph at the side, you hit that and that tells you how many people, right? Those of you who are listening who don't know that. And yeah, I find some of the things that I think people are going to take a lot of notice of, as I think Nicholas said, nobody takes any notice of. And I mean, I did one recently about ICB bookkeepers and how we'd all rallied together and all the rest of it. And I got about 4,500 hits on that. So that was good news. But normally it's more of the bad stuff, which I find opens up. I mean, in the days when I did my garage gripe, people used to like that because I was always having a moan. But I got fed up with moaning because I thought it's depressing me writing the damn stuff. So occasionally I want to say something which is nice. So, you know, when we put out the newsletter, I can get anywhere between, I think 7,500 is about the highest I've ever had. And I think about 450 is the lowest. But in the last issue, I think it was the lowest. And the one that beat me was the bit about the coronavirus update. So obviously everybody more interested than that than listening to Gary Carter waffling on. But, you know, it's fine. Thankfully, my position here is not based on it, but it's unlike some places. But I think that's interesting. I mean, social media is changing, and we seem to be getting more and more. There's another one that's just come up. I forgot what it's called. Something like Skip or something like that. And I'm getting inundated now with people wanting to do this. And another one is Meetup. Have you come across Meetup? They're forming Meetup groups, and you're supposed to join a Meetup group. Well, I worked it out the other day. I've had 19 requests so far, 19 different Meetup groups, from everything from IT to software to how to build a business, like I know. But anyway, so do you think we're in danger of wearing in the system out, or is it just going to continue to grow? Stephanie, what do you think?
I'm very wary of spending too much time on social media, not because obviously I should be working, as I am, but it is very easy if you've got your phone next to you that it suddenly pings and you respond to it. So I do worry that you can become overwhelmed by it, and therefore you need to sort of train yourself to step back occasionally and take a break and think, well, no, I'm not going to push it any further. I'm not going to tweet this. I'm not going to keep doing that. Otherwise you could overwhelm yourself a bit too much. I think it can be quite a big place. Now, I'm quite a novice compared to everybody else on this panel, really, I feel, on my social media usage. But, you know, it's just you're teaching yourself a new skill.
Yeah, it is another communication, is it, Helen? You were hand up there, Tess.
I was going to add to something that Stephanie just said. So the way I manage most of my social media posts is I don't keep looking at it all the time and keep doing it every day. I set aside a session once a month and decide on all the tweets I'm going to put out, and then I buffer them and schedule them to all just be automatically posted. So I'm not sat there every day putting this out. It's done as a monthly job. So that's the one thing that's really good to do. And the other thing to look for in your area, in Worcestershire, we've got something called Worcestershire Hour on Twitter. And for 1 hour on a Monday evening and 1 hour on a Wednesday lunchtime, lots and lots of Worcestershire businesses all go on Twitter on Worcestershire Hour all at the same time. And then we all engage with each other. So I don't know what there is in the rest of the country, but that focuses me on 2 hours when I specifically go on and engage locally. And then I have a kind of monthly session where I decide what I'm going to send out for the month. So I'm not constantly looking at it and having to think about it every day.
Do any of you use bots to sort of increase your followers? Now that seems to have died the death a little bit. I mean, I remember being told I sort of linked onto it for a little while, but I got fed up with getting a note every day saying, you know, you haven't done your bots. We can't look after you if you don't look after these messages and everything. So anyway, but yeah, I think they seem to have gone. It's becoming a little bit more personal now. Do you think it becomes a problem when you almost feel honor bound to do this? And the reason I ask that is that a while back, about 6 months back, I got contacted by somebody saying, "Oh, you are on the top 100 worldwide influencers." And I thought, really? So, okay, I went on and had a look, and I was number 41 in the world as an influencer. Now, I thought, great. The following month, I dropped out of the top 100. I was mortified. Last month, I came back up. I'm now back up to 81. But what does it mean? I mean, Della Hudson, a lot of you will know Della. Della is great. She's on everything. She's in the top 10. what does she do with her life to get into the top 10? That's what I want to know. And yeah, I am very jealous of Della, if you are listening, Della. I don't know what it is, because she talks about her spaniel. Is it she's got or something or other, and various other things with the kids and everything else? I tend to go on there and be very serious and talk about money laundering or something really appealing. But anyway, never mind. But so, yeah, it is difficult. Do you become competitive between you? I can't believe you're going to say no, because I know you're all very competitive. But Nicola, you're shaking your head. You don't bother about what everybody else is doing, then?
No, I don't think so, because obviously we are located in various different parts of the country. You know, we're in our branch meetings. We know who we've got locally. We're not in competition with them either, because they're all our friends anyway through the branches. So no, I don't think we're being competitive. If anything, we tend to like and share each other's posts. If anything, I know we've liked and shared a lot of each other's things. So I think we're all fairly supportive of each other in that respect.
Right. And just while you're there, I mean, one of the big additions to social media, if I can call it that, appears to be the use of Zoom. I know it's not technically social media because it's by invitation or whatever, but the branch meetings, particularly at the moment, are just rocketing. I mean, we had one last night, which was a joint one between, what was it, Cambridgeshire and Lincolnshire. That's right. And I mean, the competition between the two chairs to decide where the most members who logged on came from was, well, incredible. Lucy Brown, if you're listening, you are a strange lady. But anyway, never mind. So are you finding, do you regard that therefore now as part of your social media output?
No, I don't think so. I think the branch meetings are still with the main people that we know anyway from the real meetings we used to have like years ago. But you know, we're obviously getting new people that are coming on those, and we're getting to know those a little bit now. But no, I wouldn't say it's in the same sense. Although we do use the Facebook group, and we do post in those to try and just give information, that sort of thing. I tend to try and put the newsletters on and various updates, things like that, as and when we can. So I think one of my early guests
on here was Claire Allen, and she was saying that she was using Zoom to talk to her clients, because what she did was got all her clients together and introduced them to each other and everything else, and they were all having a chat, and they were, you know, she sort of stepped out into the background because they were talking more about business than they were about bookkeeping. But she found that was very useful, and as far as I'm aware, she's still doing that. I mean, has anybody else done that?
No, but that's a good idea. I'm just writing it down.
You didn't listen, obviously, to one of my earlier programmes. You would not have been invited on today had I known you'd missed anything, but okay, never mind. Well, come on, so it sounds like something you'd have thought of by now.
I actually was going to tell you that Joe Wood, who is in Kent and runs a bookkeeping practice called Joe Wood Virtual FD, has a Facebook group for her beautician clients. So they're all in the same industry. And you would think that as competitors, they might not want to be in a group together, but actually it means they can share ideas. And that's been really helpful for them as they've gone through this crisis. So it's not something I've done with my clients. My clients are in a networking group called Bristol Media. So they're connected anyway. I haven't needed to facilitate something of my own, but I know it does work.
It is funny about clients, isn't it? Sometimes you think they're going to keep everything very close to their chest, and other times they just feel relieved almost. It's like they get on the couch almost and you know, burden everybody else with all their concerns and problems and everything else, which I suppose is a good way of working that. Christine, I mean, have you adapted or adopted any new principles whilst you've been in lockdown? Now you've got I say a bit more time. Actually, our members tell us they've got less time than they've ever had. But anyway, I mean, has it given you more to think about?
To be honest, I've just carried on as normal on the social media. I don't feel that I'm a sort of a salesperson. I don't like to promote myself in the sort of real in people's faces way. So for me, I've just sort of carried on as normal and shared things as I normally would. I can't remember who was saying it, but saying earlier about you sharing things from HMRC and sharing information that others might find useful, whether they're within your sort of group of people or not, clients or not. It's, you know, it's good to be able to share that and be able to spread the information. But no, pretty much I've carried on as normal on that. So
yeah, I think it's quite interesting that you have all said here today, and a lot of our members have said, however much information comes out of HMRC, clients want it from us. And it's been very interesting. When we first started ICB TV, it was because we suddenly thought, well, this is a great idea. We can get the information out to people. And some people said, well, hold on a minute, they're already getting the information. There's going to be overload. but actually the take-up has been brilliant. And the number of questions coming in, at our peak, we were doing 200 to 300 questions between myself and Jackie in each program. And people were asking what appeared to be the same question over and over again, but I think they just wanted that reassurance. And I think we do forget that lots of small businesses, a bit like small bookkeepers, are pretty isolated, and they do draw upon things. Steph, you had your hand up.
Yeah, well, sort of similar to the way that sometimes my clients would come to me and say, what did that mean? I must admit, one thing I've enjoyed with, especially the Thank Furlough, It's Friday, is that when something comes out from HMRC, I mean, I actually read one of the documents before Jackie started talking about it, and I got halfway down and went, what did that say? And then Jackie came out with it, and it just made absolute sense. I was like, right, yeah, that's exactly what it meant then. Because
Jackie would love to hear you say that, because I always tell Jackie she can complicate water. So it's obviously not the case, and I'm sure Jackie's listening anyway.
I find that HMRC, they speak in a way that they speak in almost a different language, I think, sometimes. And trying, if we struggle to understand it at times, then a lay person trying to understand it.
Jackie does get a good following, and she's picked up by a number of the software companies to go and help with them. She's done a couple recently, and obviously she's with us again. Thank Furlough, It's Friday. Jackie is just basically one of us, I think, which helps. She's been there and done that. She worked with us. She then went out into practice, so she knows all the wrinkles of running a practice, good, bad, or indifferent. She then became an employed bookkeeper, and I think that was a hair-pulling experience on occasions. And then she came back to work for us, which is even more hair-pulling, but nonetheless. So I think she's come at this from both sides, or all sides, in fact. And I think that gives her a unique position. I've said many times that I came at ICB with June. Obviously, everybody knows June. She's the one that runs it, and she's the boss. But we came at this actually not because we were bookkeepers, but because we were small business people and we couldn't get decent bookkeeping. We were being either fleeced by accountants, or we were getting bookkeepers who just thought it was a good idea one day and had made themselves bookkeepers, but with no qualifications and no training. And we didn't fare particularly well with any of them. I'm sure it was nothing to do with the fact that we're difficult clients or anything like that, but they might say different. But yeah, it's interesting. And I think that the one thing I'm finding with social media, my own social media, is that I do it in fits and starts. And I forget almost that I'm doing something. Oh, I ought to be tweeting this, or I ought to be putting this out. And that's a shame. And I know that a lot of people have assistants. And Nicola Payne, Nicola's listening, she quite often is, but at one stage she had a company that... No, sorry. What's the other Nicola? I can't remember the name. Sorry, not Nicola Payne. I'm terrible with names. Nicola Paddy, sorry. She had a small company locally that did all the work for her, and she gave them the information. They made it look nice, put it out, and they were sending that out for her. And she gained a lot of ground using that. She got a lot of good. She got a lot of news coverage, so there are different ways of doing this. I mean, do you do it all by yourselves, folks, or Helen, you've got hubby.
So yes, I got when I expanded my business, I got a grant which paid for half of my social media coach, which was very nice. So I got her to train my apprentice. So I used to give him a lot of the ideas, and he used to prepare it, and I would okay it, and he did a lot of it. He's now moved on to become an accountant. So my retired husband does it, which is very lucky, under the aegis of me sort of guiding him what I want. So he does a lot. So I have looked into getting somebody else to do it, and that is an option. Luckily, I've got someone else to do it for me. But yeah, if you really hate it, and you can afford it, you can get a social media person to do it for you, obviously. But
if you hate it, you probably wouldn't think about getting somebody to do it. You wouldn't see the reason for it, would you? But I don't know. I mean, it's you're lucky to have your husband. I mean, we have a lot of husband and wife teams. It actually tends to be wife and husband teams. Sylvia Bohr, who's another one, springs to mind, and obviously Nicola Payne here over in the corner, whose name I remember now. Obviously, Nicola has got her daughter in, and anybody else got any family members involved? No, all right, okay. Time yet. And obviously, as you know, at ICB, we've had a fair few family members in at different times and what have you. So, so where do you see the next leap for social media? Is it, for example, I mean, I'll ask Zoe, I mean, do you think it's going to get involved with blockchain?
Blockchain?
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I mean, that's not something that's on my radar as a development. I think the next place for social media is video. I think everyone's looking at Instagram stories. If you're using Instagram, your grid is important because when people come to your grid, they see the kind of stuff you're putting out. You can look professional, but it's stories. People put it on, they press it and just let it run, and they'll just watch anything that's coming out there. So I think a presence on YouTube or Instagram stories is really worthwhile. What you're doing on YouTube, Gary, is brilliant because you've got just content going out all the time. People will just sit and watch that back to back. So something like that people can almost binge on, I suppose, is really, I think that's a really good way to go. The internet likes video for search rankings.
Yeah, I don't think we use it as much as we should, to be honest. I mean, I have a son-in-law who is a world-beating video editor, and he always just tells me we can't afford him. But I sit there thinking, I give him all these ideas over Sunday lunch or something or other, but I never end up with anything from. He does the videos for the conferences and everything else. But there's so much more I think we could do with it. But as I say, he makes it out of my league. But anyway, we'll see about that. Did you put your hand up again, Alan?
I was just going to say you can do some little deal. I've actually got a plan, but I'm not going to tell you what it is, but you'll see it coming out on Twitter. I've bought myself a little microphone, and on a little tripod from Amazon. Tripod. It was only about 40 quid. So you set up this little tripod and it clamps your phone and you've got a microphone and you just sit in front of it and do a little 10-minute video of yourself saying something. So I've got a theme. I'm not going to tell you what it is. It's a surprise. I've got a theme and it's going to run on a theme. So it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. It doesn't have to be a professional video. You can do something really simple. That's, of course, if you don't mind being in front of the camera yourself. But yeah, so don't think it's costly. There's a lot of DIY options.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think a good bit of selfie or moving selfie, it can work wonders, etc. That's good. Zoe, you mentioned about our YouTube. I mean, the biggest feedback we get actually comes through Facebook. I mean, we post the videos on Facebook, and Zoe will do this just after we finish normally. But we're getting in excess of 1,000 people taking that down and looking at it later. As I've said before, it's either the same people that are gluttons for punishment or it's a new audience. But if, for the sake of my figures, to make them look better, it means that, you know, in combination with who we're getting from Facebook Live and who we're getting on through my ICB Live, you know, we're getting to about 3,000 to 3,500 people. Now, we've never managed to do that before. I mean, at our conferences, we will get between 200 and 400 members and about 150 exhibitors or something like that. And we've always thought that's a fantastic audience. And it is, it's lovely. You know, it's the biggest of its type, certainly in our profession. But to suddenly get several thousand people means we are reaching the corners that we haven't got to before. And that's always been a struggle, you know, where some of you come to the opening of an envelope, basically. You'll come to everything. That's great. And it's wonderful to have you there. But there's this sort of 25% of our membership that we don't know what they look like, sound like, or anything. And I feel almost as if we're not connected with them. So I have in the past had even bothered to ring people up. You know, I've given a quick ring. Hi, I'm Gary Conrad. You know, explain who I am and all the rest. Never heard from you before. And they say, well, no, all right, I pay my subs. Leave me alone. Go away. You know, it's a shame, but I'm being prompted here that we've got a lot of questions coming through. So I'm going to go to some questions anyway. It's not a lot of questions, and not very many anyway. Right, so here we are. Afternoon all. I have a question. So once the COVID thing calms down a bit, I like that COVID thing, we may be looking to drum up some more business. Which do you think is more effective? A leaflet drop through business door or boosting your Facebook so more people see it? Who's got an answer for Matt on that one? Zoe.
Yeah, it depends who your client is. So if you know exactly who your client is, put something through their door, definitely with a testimonial from a similar kind of client saying what a great job you've done for them and showing what you can do. Boosting Facebook posts isn't great because it just gets it in front of a number of people. It's not a targeted audience. So boosting a Facebook post is something you pay for. If you use targeted Facebook ads, you can choose exactly who your audience is. So if you're clear on, I want to target carpenters in Sussex or something, then you can choose an audience that looks like that and target ads at them. But I don't know, I'm not sure about leaflets. It really depends what industries you want to be working with. Facebook ads could work. I think just building up an engaged community on social media, finding out where they are and working there, or being in the groups that those people are in, could be a better route without spending any money.
So it's not a lot of different to any communication. Basically, it's target, isn't it? But Steph, what you were about to say something you wanted to say?
Yeah, when I first started, I really did push on the Facebook front. But what I did was I joined various local groups like buy, sell, swap groups and things like that, because you will often find through Facebook you'll get posts saying need a recommendation for an accountant. It's my pet hate that they always ask for an accountant when half the time a bookkeeper will do. But you know, it's, if you put yourself on those sorts of sites, and then often there's a limit to one advert a week, but you yourself are on various different sites that are in that area, you'll find that those people that you could reach out to, in my case, sole traders, are on those sites as well, on the same sites, about 5 or 6 of them in your area. So one advert a week, you've got 5 or 6 different pages covered. I found it, I got an awful lot of referrals and interest and potential clients through that way.
Okay, now we've got a very sceptical Claire Allen just sent in a question. And, you know, those of you who don't know Claire, she's got various branches of her organisation. I think she basically owns one half of Sussex. She's saying, can you actually, any of you, hold your hand on your heart and say you've actually picked up clients as a direct result of your social media?
Yes.
Zoe nodding. Yeah. So you're all, well, 3 of you are. Chrissy, you know for a fact you've picked somebody up.
4 or 5 people. Yeah, through LinkedIn I have, through being on there and someone sort of commenting saying, oh, I'm looking for a new bookkeeper, and then sort of connected with them, and that's, yeah.
Oh, okay. Nicola?
Yeah, I picked up a couple through LinkedIn as well, and probably through Facebook as well, actually. I'm just trying to think who they are, but yeah, and definitely Google, finding your ranking on Google. So it all interlinks, everything interlinks. They might have seen you on one thing and then they Google you and find you that way. So yeah, definitely that way.
All right. Okay. Oh, well, that's good. So there we are, Claire. You have your answer on that one. Let's see what else. That was Claire. We've got another Zoe here, unless Zoe's busy typing in a question. Do you think websites are necessary, or is social media sufficient?
I think having a website gives somebody somewhere to go if they come across you on social media. You can put everything on your website. You can have a detailed view of what all the different services you offer, whereas on social media, it's a snapshot. So if you point somebody towards your website and have a very good website as well, then it all helps.
Does anybody use an app for their company? No, interesting. It's one of the areas that we're looking at the moment, because we're getting a few of our members are starting to get an app, and therefore they can send out bulletins and push notifications and various other things. But none of you are there, so okay. So I'm presuming it's not as prevalent as we thought it might be. We'll keep that on. Let's just have a quick look, see what else anybody's got in there. So that was Zoe, Claire Allen again. Hello, Claire. Hi. Do any of you pay for social media advertising? Can we have a show of hands on that one? None of you pay, not even for just a couple of quid to boost it or anything else? I've never done that on mine either, because I always think if you see one and it says, is it boosted? They use a word, don't they, something. And I thought that always looks as if you cheated a little bit. So anyway, no, Claire, they are all good and are there by the strength of the message that they're putting out. Jane says, would you recommend scheduling posts? I think, Zoe, you've already said you've got to pick your time, and
I do as well.
You do as well, yeah. When you say scheduling, have you learnt by trial and error which is your best time, or is it the time that suits you?
Is it okay if I answer this one?
I
think looking at Instagram, your Instagram profile, you can see when people were looking at your post. I'm going to talk about Instagram a lot, sorry, that's my main platform. But
okay.
I think it's also thinking about when people are looking. So imagine if your target audience is like mums with young kids, they might well be looking at social media while they're preparing, the kids having their tea or something. They might sit and have a cup of tea at 5 o'clock when their kids are having their dinner. So if they're going to be on social media then, and they're your clients, post then. So think about when they're on, and that's the beauty of scheduling. I mean, don't schedule everything, because if you schedule a load of stuff and then there's a global pandemic, it might be irrelevant, but you can schedule a lot of it around a key piece of content.
Yeah, I did notice a few scheduled, I presume they were scheduled, came out. I mean, Zero actually put one out saying, you know, life's wonderful, etc., etc., and it was a day after we'd all closed down, basically, and I think that must have been a scheduled newsletter, but it was quickly taken down, and a couple of other people, and I can see where that comes from. I mean, the problem is, when I do social media, it tends to be on the spur of the moment. I think, oh, I ought to be doing some, or I've got something that's happened. And the other day, we were working late here, and I did a Twitter, and I sent it out, and June said to me, you do know it's 2 o'clock in the morning, don't you? And I said, well, no, I'd forgotten. So that was completely wasted. I retweeted it later, because otherwise nobody was going to be about. Actually, I tell a lie, somebody did get it, but they were from America or something or other. But so yeah, I think the scheduling is something I need to look at as well. I don't really do much of that. I tend to do it on the spur, as I say. So Nicola.
Yeah, I was just going to say about the scheduling is that I use a thing as well called Hootsuite, which enables you to schedule through multiple platforms. So you can do your LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook all in one hit. So that makes it easier as well to schedule. And also you can schedule the same sort of advert to repeat several times. Like you say on Twitter, you're not going to see it in your feed. If it's repeated 3 times throughout the month, it doesn't matter. You know, you can repeat these sort of sales type ones or just general information type ones quite a lot, because people are not necessarily going to see them twice, and schedule at different times of the day and see what works and what gets more hits and things.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, Sue Booland has just come on to say, hello, I have a love-hate relationship with social media. Do any of the panelists have similar issues? She hasn't gone into any great detail, but do any of you have a hate relationship other than just love, love, love? Yeah, no? Zoe?
Hate Twitter, but can't, it's addictive.
Hate Twitter. All right.
I hate it, but I'm addicted to it.
Yeah. I mean, I've never really gone anywhere with Instagram, only because I've always seen that as a family thing. We've always been on Instagram as a family, so it's different. But yeah, I think the idea of separating out family from business is something which isn't always easy to do, because you need a different telephone number or a different email address or something other. But Chrissy?
The one thing I would say, and I mean, I love social media and I think it can be great, but the one thing have posted about this on the student group before is it can be negative as well, in the sense of, if you're sat at home and you're studying, or if you're just starting out your practice, you see all these people around you posting about, you know, getting new clients and passing exams and things, and it can be quite difficult because you feel perhaps that everyone else is doing really well and you're not, and so it can be quite, sometimes you sort of have to detach yourself a little bit from it. So that's the one thing I would say, is that you say, if you are studying or say starting out, because you know, we all know, we've all been there, you know, when you first start out, it can be hard. That yeah, it can be hard to not just see all the positives and think I'm doing really rubbish because I'm not doing as well as all of them they are.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I think it can be hard.
It is a difficult one, or generally, isn't it? Because I mean, if you look at conferences, or you look at Inspire Tours, or even just at branch meetings, we have people who pay to come along, get to the car park and go home again, because they're so worried about moving into this sea of successful bookkeepers. But the thing is, we can't all walk around with a glum face in case it upsets somebody who's just trying. That hand out to those people, you know, and saying, come and join us because you can be here soon one day is something very important. But you don't get a chance to do that on social media because you've got a few short words before they start telling you you've gone over. Yeah, it is sometimes difficult to, you almost feel guilty being positive. But because we've had a lot of our members saying that their business is growing just phenomenally at the moment, and they don't like to say too much about it because I've tried to get a few success stories to come on, and they've been saying, well, I don't really think it's right to do that. So, you know, I can understand that. It can be seen as a bit harsh sometimes, but we had one of our members who listened to one of our keynote speakers at conference a few years back and decided to specialize, and she specialized in pubs and restaurants. So overnight, her business disappeared. So she has now built up a non-specialist bookkeeping practice. And in the last, 8 weeks or something like that, she's picked up 14 clients. And now she's got a very wide spread. And hopefully one day she'll get back her pubs and the clubs. But, you know, she looked at what I was saying, actually, because she rang me up and just had a bit of a nag at me that I was saying everything was going well. And I said, well, it's not all going well. And I do temper it with that, but I can't go on and say, okay, guys, so the boat's sinking, we're all buggered. You know, it wouldn't have gone down very well. But thankfully, I haven't needed to say too much of that. I mean, I had a conversation with Zoe very early on when she was having problems, you know, and obviously you were telling me that kids come first. Well, absolutely. Yeah, of course they do. But we have to find the light at the end of the tunnel somewhere, don't we? And you obviously have.
I mean, I think I niched. So I had a niche practice. I targeted creatives. I talk about Instagram all the time. I was doing visual stuff. I like working with creatives. Didn't mean that I ruled out other clients. I had a letting agent. I had some retailers. It was actually my retailer clients I lost when this happened. So, you know, don't be afraid to target a particular audience. Just target the ideal clients because other clients will come too because they'll like you as well. Doesn't mean you have to say no to the other work. But I see what you mean about having that spread across a different range of clients. Definitely helps.
Yeah. I remember talking to the other lady that I was mentioning just at a conference, and she said, I had somebody come to me recently. I said, are you a pub? He said, no. She said, well, how dare you come to me? She'd taken it completely the wrong way, I think. But anyway, you're a tough lot, you bookkeepers, sometimes, you know. Let me have a look what other questions we've got here, because we've got a few stacking up. Jeez. Really helpful answers. Thanks, guys, says Matt. Anonymous here wants to know what Zoe's Instagram handle is. I'm not sure about that. That could be anybody. But anyway, we'll say that.
Maybe we should all share our Instagram or our social media. Maybe that would be better.
Well, we might do that in a minute because you can, but they can find you now anyway, can't they? They can do a search on you. Ruth Gaudian. Hello, could you please ask? Yeah, for Zoe, somebody else wanted that. Ruth Gaudian. Now, are you from the Channel Islands by any chance? Because Gaudian is a Channel Islands name. Just wondering. I've got relatives down there called Gaudian. Faye says, having not been in my LinkedIn account for ages, do people know it's inactive? Not sure what that means, Faye, but never mind. Anybody with that one? No, we're all looking a bit puzzled.
I think she's just not put anything through it for a while, so I don't think anybody necessarily knows that she's probably just not responded to anything. So, no, I wouldn't.
No, occasionally send you a bulletin, don't they, to say, you know, lots of people want to hear from you, which is probably not true, but never mind. I understand what Chrissy is saying. I have no clients yet, and I'm not a natural marketing type, but keep hearing about how snowed under other bookkeepers are. So that's Stephen Dawson. Stephen, look, it's the same for everybody. It is very daunting when you first start, and you know, try and link in with the members. This is obviously great, but you don't get to talk back other than through an email like this. Link into one of the branch meetings. If you haven't got one in your area, go to somebody else's. That's something you can now do because we're on Zoom. Talk to people, listen to people. So often it's a branch meeting where you meet somebody, make a relationship, get clients, etc., etc. I mean, you can also be anonymous. You know, don't put your video on if you don't want to. Sit there in silence somewhere if you need to. Chris, I know you do a lot with trying to encourage people.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I don't know whether, is it Stephen? I can't remember what you said, sorry. Is part of the ICB students group on Facebook. But if not, join us, because quite often we have people on there who are just starting out, who've just finished their exams and aren't sure. And I'm more than happy to, you know, provide any support I can on there. So yeah, join the group if you're not on it.
Great. Brilliant. Steph?
Yeah, I'd sort of concur with that. Oddly enough, my Facebook reminded me this week that it's 5 years since I became a qualified bookkeeper. So
congratulations.
Thank you very much. It
Well
reminded
done.
me that at the end of my first year as a practice, I only had 3 clients, and it did worry me. But by the end of my second year, I was in the top teens, in early 20s. And that's just because I just made a point of just putting myself out there and putting it on Facebook as I was using it at that point. And I just kept trawling around, and eventually it all comes, and then almost it snowballed, because then people go, oh, I know somebody you can use. So you can go from social media almost to just word of mouth.
Yeah, I mean, many years ago when we first started this, we have a lot of people saying, I can't find any business. I have to say, it's normally nothing anybody says nowadays. That's farthest from it. It is normally, I've got so much business, I'm going to get rid of the clients I don't want and keep the clients that I do. Because I think it's a natural tendency when you first start to say yes to the first person that walks through the door. And then afterwards you think, oh, actually, I don't like this client, or I don't like doing this particular type of work. But I mean, there is such a lot of business out there. It's a figure, I can't remember the exact figure, but a figure I quoted a couple of programs ago was that last year, 2019, our members put on a net 10,900 plus new clients. And we know that from the AML Online. And when I looked at it for the first 3 months of this year, it was already 3,800. Now I've looked recently, and I don't have the figures, so I can't state it, but whereas we thought there might be a dip in numbers, no dip at all. There are clients disappearing, but new clients seem to be really coming out of the woodwork. And I can't quite remember the figure, but I think in the month of May, over 1,200 new clients were registered, which is just incredible. So it shows how resilient we are. And in fact, I was talking to Gary Hobson at Trading only yesterday, and he was just saying that the last time we had a huge recession in this country, actually, more people wanted to learn to be bookkeepers. And I think it's not just bookkeepers, it's generally training, because you lose a job, so you need to find something else. And, you know, it's quite a resilient profession, providing, you don't have to sit and look after your kids instead, you know. And Amy Copeland, who is our head of communications, most of you will know Amy. We have our Zoom meetings, and her 2 kids are quite often crawling all over her, wanting her attention when she's trying to answer a perfectly serious question. We've just got used to it, and we wouldn't have put up with it before, but now because of COVID, you know, well, it's just normal. What else are we expected to do? So, yeah, I think we're doing different things. I'm being prompted that we've got questions coming in. Let's just have a look how we're going. When I'm looking at these questions, are you getting just a blank, or can you see that I've got something in there? I've never asked that question. You can see the blank in the middle, can you? So I'm sorry if you're getting chopped out by this. So where are we? Let's have a look. Yeah, that was Stephen Dawson. Thank you for that. Yes, new member from the Channel Islands. Ruth, hello. Well, congratulations. And really good to have you on the Channel Islands. I presume COVID has been on the Channel Islands. I honestly can't say I know. Oh, Stephen Dawson says, I am a branch meeting regular. Okay, well, I'm hoping that's helping. If not, try another branch. Shop around, you know, let's see what you can do. If not, give me a call and I'll have a chat with you. Even Yell.com free listing can find my business in my area as a bookkeeper. Faye. Yeah, I mean, find a bookkeeper on the ICB website. You can get onto that. Your name is on there anyway, unless you ask us to take it down. Lots of people say they get business from that. You've got the social media. I know lots of people are part of the local business group. We've got people who are part of Hereford Means Business and all this sort of place, you know. I think you've just got to get out as much as you can, you know, and just don't worry about giving the stuff out there. Sue Bruland says, Chrissy was a big help to me when I started out. It was so nice to bounce ideas off someone who has done it before. She was so supportive to me, and I will always be very grateful. Thank you, Chrissy. Oh. So there we are, Sue Brulin and Chrissy.
Thank you, Sue.
Many thanks, Ruth Gaudian. On average, whoa, where do we go? One disappeared there. Thank you for the useful info. My practice license started this week, so I'm now keen to build my client base. Dave Shannon. Good luck, Dave, and link into everybody. We're all friendly people, really. Get see there. Christine Salmon says, on average, how much time a week would you say you have posted on social media in order to be effective? What do you think about that then? Let's start with oh, excuse me, Claire. Nicola, sorry, I'm talking about Claire. Nicola.
Oh God, that's a hard question, because I think a bit like Helen, I do in bulk and then do a little bit as and when. So it's a little bit hard to tell, to be honest. So, and obviously I have an assistant that helps me with that as well, with the scheduling stuff. So it's not a lot, I don't think, really, comparative to the other stuff we do. And also I make a point of not having the notifications on my phone. So it's not beeping all day and distracting me. I choose when I go and look at it. And then I sort of do a blitz through and go through things like that. But I don't have it beeping at me all day. So I don't know on average per week, but probably not more than an hour in the whole week, work time.
Okay. Chrissy, I mean, you get involved with forums and all sorts of things. So you do a lot of interaction, even if it's not social media, don't you?
Yes, yeah. So I do quite a bit, say, on the sort of the students groups and bits. But it's probably only sort of an hour and a half, 2 hours a week. I try to keep it, like I think Zoe said at the start, try and focus when I'm on it. I try and just sort of, right, what do I want to achieve? What do I want to do? And just try and keep it quite focused, so I don't get sort of sidetracked too much. And turning off notifications, like Nicola says, I think else you can just get distracted by it constantly. So it's just focusing on what you're doing, do what you need to do, and just sort of leave it there.
How many of you get your phone and it comes up and tells you how many hours you've been on average for the following week, and you swear black's white it must be wrong because it's far too much? Anybody get that, or is it just me? No, just me then. All right. Stephanie, how about you? How long do you spend on social media?
Probably like Chrissy was saying, probably a couple of hours a week in all. It depends, because some weeks I don't touch it at all. I don't post stuff. I may look at Twitter. I use Twitter a lot to see what other people are doing and perhaps share their content, or it gives me ideas about things that I can do. Actually sharing stuff, it's not, it's probably a couple of hours a week.
Helen?
Yeah, so like Nicola, I have a monthly session, which is perhaps an hour when I decide what to put out. And then about another hour a week going on the focused Twitter groups, mainly. But can I just add something that's actually not social media, but if you really want new clients, for me, networking is really key and social media is a complement. So I'm not sure social media would work completely on its own with nothing else. To me, it's a combination of the branding on social media backed up by doing a lot of networking.
But taking Stephen's point, the good thing about social media is they can't get at you and they can't see you. So then when you've got up your courage, then you perhaps go on to the networking. Yeah. I mean, how about you, Zoe? We get the impression you're sort of morning till night sort of social media bound, no?
I schedule Instagram through something called Later, so you can have a free version of Later to schedule. You can upgrade it if you want to add other social media platforms in there. Twitter I do ad hoc, but generally I might have like an hour at the start of the week planning stuff, and then there'll be a few ad hoc things, and I probably spend about 20 minutes in the evening going through comments when I'm trying to get I've got tiny kids, so I sit in their room at night waiting for them to go to sleep. So at that point, that's when you'll get a reply to your comment. So that's how I work it out.
Right. So I've got Sue Haynes here, who's come through on our Facebook chat line. Have to be honest, I would rather do my payroll exams again. But understand social media needs to be done if you want to grow your practice. I'm not quite sure social media is better than doing your payroll exams again, or were you trying to say that you would find that less taxing? I'm not quite sure about that one. And we've shared Zoe's handle here at the books. Thanks. I won't share with Anonymous just in case. Okay, fine, great. And there we go. Chrissy, I mean, you do a lot with the students, as we said before, and you do a lot on the forums. One of the problems that we have with social media and with the forums is that we are having to spend a lot more of our time policing them, because we get people on there who come up with answers to questions, because people will ask technical questions, and somebody flies in and answers it. So sometimes the person is not really supposed to be asking such a question, because they're not supposed to be running a business. And other times, people who answer are new students who've read the first book and think they know the entire bookkeeping world. I mean, how do you cope with that? Because you don't have the same knowledge we do as to who of those people should actually be asking those questions.
Yeah, I mean, on the students group, which is obviously where I do most of it, it's more, I think it's more people looking for encouragement and confidence and support, you know, with the sort of like, so that, yeah, the practicalities of when you set up those sort of just the boost of that. So it's not so bad on that. I must admit, when the COVID crisis began, I actually came off I was on various bookkeeper groups on Facebook, and I actually came off a couple of them because I was just fed up of just seeing, like you say, someone ask a question and then everybody plow in with what they thought was the right answer. And you had such a mix of answers, and it was just so confusing. So actually I just came off them, because I'd rather dial into like ICB TV or something and get the proper answers than be trying to look at a forum and think, right, which one could be right of those answers. So I've actually changed the way I do some of those things, because I just think it's so easy to be misled. And as you say, people think that perhaps they know more than they do.
Yeah.
Dangerous.
I mean, we know that we've got members, we don't know who they are, but we know we've got members who are HMRC inspectors. And they go on to these forums, and there is a particular forum that's run by the training provider, and they seem to be very good at coming up with really duff information. And HMRC have been on to us a couple of times and said, you've got to stop this happening. And I said, okay, well, we're doing our best. And in fact, now we are doing a lot better than we were. But, I remember one bit of information. There was this poor lady who come up with this client, and she got these problems, and he'd done this, and the accountant had done that. And the best piece of advice that came forward was, in my years of experience, the best thing to do is look the other way. Well, actually, that's not the right piece of information. But if you're told that by somebody who you think is a skilled bookkeeper, you know, it can be difficult. But so, what about ICB and our social stuff? Not whether you like it or not, but if we want to use social media more, one of the things we want to do is continually support our members. I'm always coming up with weird ideas, and so 1 in every 10 gets through or something like that. But what do you think our members want to hear? Is it how to run their practice better? Is it how to find clients? Is it how to do their job better? Is it how they can retire off into the sunset? I mean, what do you think we should be using our output, whether it's social media or Zoom or whatever? Because you're all switched on here, Zoe.
I think, Gary, what you're doing right now is your core content. So I always think that don't try and come up with loads of ideas. We haven't got time. If we have one core piece of content every week, we can build a whole social media plan around that. So you've got this amazing content you're putting out every day, which is giving support to your bookkeepers. So you can repurpose this, and you can use this. You can have snippets of these conversations, quotes from people, links to guides. You can put this in Twitter, on LinkedIn, on Instagram. It's all here for you, just to chop up and use to appeal to people across the platform. So I think you don't need to add anything else. You can build off of this.
Great. Oh, that's nice. I mean, we didn't do one this week on Monday because we were going to have a particular company on, and about 10 minutes before we came on, they pulled out. So I didn't think you'd want to sit and listen to me waffling for an hour, so we cancelled. We have had a hell of a lot of criticism. Well, you could have come on anyway. We were really looking forward to it. So fine, okay, we won't try that one again. But yeah, I think content like we've had today, which is good instructional stuff for people, but there is so much more which as an institute we could do, but we don't want to get to the stage where we're giving people stuff that they don't want. I mean, Zoe and several others have suggested they would like to come on and do something to help members do things with their business. You know, is that something that you think people would like to hear? Because, you know, we've had people at different times coming on who give bits of experienced advice, like Paul of Easy Smith, for example, who'll do anything for anybody. And they're very well received, but I'm not sure, we've got a long way to go yet before we tire you all out. But, you know, is that something, would you like to hear other people's experiences and other people's ideas? Chrissy?
I think, and certainly from speaking to some of the students, I think that that is really valuable. I mean, I did a webinar back in November with Free Agent around sort of top tips when you're starting out and things that I'd learned in the 2 years up till then. And I actually had someone, an ICB student, come to me this week and say, you know, I've just joined, so I didn't get a chance to listen. Have you still got, can I still access it? Because actually, I just want to get as much information as I can. I want to hear about people's stories. I want to get the experience. So I think there is really, there's people that want that. And I think it is that thing of when you start out, especially if you are, say, sat at home, it can feel lonely. So actually, it's good to be able to have other people to be able to bounce things off or hear how other people dealt with things, or just to be able to have that interaction. I think is really good.
Steph?
Yeah, I think as well. I mean, ICB are brilliant. You get your exams, you get your practice license, and then you sort of go, now what? And it's knowing what to do afterwards. It's knowing, how do I promote myself? And these are not things that you're necessarily taught. You've either got a gift for it or you haven't. But if you haven't, you could kind of do with having that sort of content of helping a practice get up off its feet and know how to go about getting things.
Oh.
Yeah, I did a branch Zoom meeting, and a couple of new ladies came that I'd not met before face to face, and they were in their sort of first, second year, and I asked them what sort of themes they would like for discussion for future meetings, and the how to get clients was really key, which is going to be my next one. But it's like you said, Stephanie, you get your exams, you get your certificate, and then you go, where do I get people from? You know, and I think it's always nice to hear stories of people that've been on that journey and how they've done that.
Really helpful.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, if we were to put different things on, do you think members would pay a small amount for this so that only those members who wanted would take it? Because, I mean, there comes a point when ICB is going to run out of money to do all this stuff. You know, we give you all the ML online, we give you, I mean, we worked out the other day, we've got nearly 3,500 templates on our website. God knows what they are and where they are and whether or not you'll ever find because there's so many of them. But they're all, you know, you get free technical advice, legal advice. But that's about as far as we can go without putting everybody's fees up. But that seems to be a bit wrong for those of you who have already been there, done that, and bought your own T-shirt. Why should you pay extra for others? So what I'm thinking is, you know, if I turn around to Zoe and say, will you come on and do a regular panel? She's going to say, you know, okay, I'll come on once, but go away otherwise. I've got a business to run. So if we said to her, right, well, come on and we'll give you, I don't know, £5 for turning up or something or other. I mean, is that something you think would make us look bad? Is it something you think members would take? Chrissy?
I think, I mean, looking back to when I started, you say, like Stephanie said, you got the exams, you sort of don't know where to start. And you know, I found it really tough to start off with. It took a long time to get my first client. And actually, I think if there was, say, I don't know, some sort of package that you can pay X and get access to, you know, webinars and advice and things like that, then I think personally I would have paid it at that time, because I mean, I was almost to the point, and I've spoken about this before, I was almost to the point of giving up and going back to my full-time job that I had before, because it just wasn't working. And then all of a sudden it clicked, and all of a sudden it came together. And as someone said earlier, you know, you start with a couple and it builds from there. And, you know, I'm up sort of over 70 clients now, and it's sort of how I got there in that time. But at the start, I think I would have paid for that sort of, I don't know, advice, knowledge, mentorship, something, whatever you call it, because I think it can be hard.
But I know some time ago we linked in with Wickers on a Bike. I don't know if you remember him, and he was going to do a monthly thing, and in the end he sort of passed it on to somebody. But he was charging our members, if I remember rightly, £99 a month, so about £1,200 a year. He had a big take-up, made a lot of money from it, but actually our members sort of filtered out after 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. And by the end of the time, I think we've got about 30 members left. So I think perhaps if people could nip in as and when required and sort of almost put it on the meter or something, that might help. Helen, you were nodding there.
I was just going to say I'd do it on a very small ad hoc fee, as and when. But the great thing about virtual ones is those of us who are branch chairs know that statistically only about 1% of the ICB bookkeepers in each region go to branch meetings. And a lot of that, I think, is because of confidence, exactly what you said, being nervous. Whereas if they see there's a virtual thing that they can join anonymously and just listen to, and if you went to a face-to-face meeting, it's going to be at least a £5. So if you're going to go to a virtual one, you know, £3 a shot or something is nothing, is it? I guess
Exactly.
I wouldn't think that was a problem, but everybody's different. You're always going to get some that want out something.
And don't do yourself down. Don't do yourself down so much. It's certainly more than 1%.
No,
I mean,
I didn't mean me.
It's about 25% goes to somewhere regularly. So that is something. I'm obviously concerned time because we're running now quite late into. We're getting close to 4:30, and we need to let you go back and attack your social media. I hope somebody's going to tell everybody that you've been on here and everything else. Just see if there's anything. Faye says, we were paying $7.50 for our branch meeting, so I think a small fee for tuning in when we find speakers relevant would be fine. I'm not thinking, by the way, before anybody says it's charging for ICB TV. Oh, there's the snake. Yeah, this is what we do, you know, and we'll do whatever we can. But things like Inspire Tour, where there's money involved and where we do conference, and again, people are asking about is the summit happening this year? So I'll get my little bit in before I finish. Summit is the 16th, 17th of November. Global Bookkeeping Week is the 16th to the 20th. Now the summit may be live. It may actually be virtual. We don't know. We paid a hefty deposit on the Novotel. We hope that we can do something. I understand that even with social distancing, we should be able to get a couple of hundred of you in there. Whether or not it'll be the same, we haven't made that final decision, but something will be happening. A Global Bookkeeping Week is very important because we celebrate that, as the name suggests, right the way around the globe. But please remember, Wednesday the 18th is Razor Cup Day. Now that's the day that we're going to celebrate everything that you've done throughout COVID, everything you've done anyway, and the brilliant job you've done. And, you know, not only you raising a cup to yourself and to your fellow bookkeepers, I'm hoping we get a lot of clients again this year raising a cup and saying that's fantastic, even if they're still locked down at that stage. And I noticed that and other organisation who remain nameless has now come up with have a cup of tea with them. So, you know, I like to be copied. I take that as extreme flattery. And that's wonderful. So, look, can I ask you all, if we go around, just a very quick, in a nutshell, why people should concentrate on social media and what they should do to get the best out of it. So if I start with Nicola.
I think it's just making yourself known in your locality. So it's just using it for what you can do. Don't stress too much about trying to be on everything. Just pick something you're familiar with, or if you've got a small child nearby that you can rope in to help you, that's always good too. They know more than we do sometimes. It's just being familiar, and it's just trying to build your brand, I think, is the key.
Brilliant. Nicola.
That was Nicola.
Oh God, sorry. I'm trying to write something down here. I'm terrible. Thankfully, touch wood. Actually, I've never forgotten June's name, but I'm sure it's coming one day. You know, I've always been terrible with names. I'm letting you into a little secret here, but many years ago, I was in an old boys' school at Shrewsbury, at the Priory Grammar School at Shrewsbury, and the younger boys of us had to play the female leads, and I played Lady Macbeth. And I remember looking at. I know it's a terrible thought, isn't it? I'll show you which one today. I remember the look of fright on Macbeth's eyes as I put my hands up to his to talk about the blood on our hands, and I forgot my words. And he didn't know whether to talk over me without me or go ahead or what. Thankfully, I got it back, but I have never been any good at remembering. My memory is terrible, and normally I have June, who's able to fill me with all sorts of things. So, right, Chrissy.
I would say use it to interact and engage with others. You never know the people that might see your post, and they may not be looking for bookkeepers themselves, but you never know when they may know a family member, a friend who might be looking for a bookkeeper and might think, oh, and remember you because of that. So use it to engage and interact.
Right. Stephanie.
Don't always think about things bookkeeping. I once put a post of my breakfast along with the jar of jam from one of my clients who made it, and I tagged her into it, and therefore I got through to her clients and people that followed her.
Right. Helen.
Basically, if you're going to sit at home and not put yourself out there and not go anywhere, you're going to struggle to get business. It's not going to land in your lap. And for me, social media is free advertising. It works far better. I've tried the odd in the Chamber magazine locally, nothing. It's free advertising and branding. All it takes is a little bit of time. And you can always get a coach to teach you how to do it.
Well, if you think you need one, yeah. I remember many years ago, this lady rang up very annoyed with me. She says, I want to resign. I said, why? She said, well, I've had my practice license for 2 months. You haven't sent me a single client. Anyway, so yeah, you know, we've all got to get out there and do this. Now, it's obviously the right thing to do. We should finish with our social media influence of the year, complete with Lucas in the background. Obviously, yeah, I saw that face there. I saw that, and listen, we're going to have a Luca week. I'm not sure if it's next week or the week after, where we're going to bring back some of the Luca winners to talk to us. But that's the week that the Luca nominations open. And I've just been told, by the way, Graham, that the Accounting Web Awards have actually been moved from the 10th of September to the 2nd of February. So people are moving things back. So we are going to finish, at least this part of the discussion, with Zoe.
Okay, my one tip then is, yeah, it's overwhelming. We keep saying this word overwhelm. I think if you're overwhelmed, don't know where to start, choose one platform. Just choose one thing and do that really well before you focus on something else.
Great. Right, well, thanks everybody for that. Just to say that tomorrow we have a company with us called Fresh Egg, and Fresh Egg are the company that's working on the ICB website. So we've twisted out the new website, which will be launched, I think it's now moved to July, but nonetheless. And they're going to talk to you about marketing through a website and the things you need to do. They spent hours and hours with ICB, literally pulling us apart, basically. Things that we weren't using the right words, not in the right places. We were using too many acronyms, which new students are not going to know the acronym for even Making Tax Digital. We dropped the wording and called it MTD because we call it MTD. So people were putting in Making Tax Digital and missing us completely. So there's little hints like that, and they're hopefully going to give us some answers. And then on Friday, thankfully it's Friday, not only do we have the inimitable Jackie again back with us, we've got somebody coming in from Quest. Now, it was Quest that were going to be with us on Monday. They're our people who do our legal advice line. Now, we gave you, I think it was about 150 templates that they did with the last newsletter. And we're going to be talking about that, but lots of you have got legal inquiries now around COVID, around furloughing. If I'm furloughing, can I furlough part-time now moving forward? Do I have to pay the 30% for my member of staff? Or if I'm employing them part-time, can that be their 30%? There's all sorts of questions, which Jackie and I were getting a little bit into deep water. We weren't quite sure how to answer. So now somebody from Quest hopefully will be able to tell you. So I would like to thank Zoe, Nicola, Helen, Chrissy and Stephanie for coming along. It's been great to talk to you. It's been great fun. Somebody has just asked, why were there no men? Good question. No men put their name forward. These are the ladies that socially media. So away we go. So thank you very much for that. Thank you for your time. We're getting on for an hour and a half now, so lovely to be with you. Hopefully we will actually meet up again one day, but if not, hopefully some of you will come back onto our Zoom. So thank you very much. Bye everybody, and see you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.